She's like, you're not gonna go anywhere else. I'm like, literally, it's like I love her. She's absolutely fantastic.
Nice to see you. Always the one for Friday. Saturday. Oh yeah, we're off on Saturday.
Yep. I have 2 more days now of no sleep.
Uh-oh.
Like give me nothing. I don't know if she did think that I know. Definitely exactly what the same cards.
Yeah.
That's so good.
We're gonna be using that.
Oh my God.
That's tough.
No, I'm excited to wear these.
Yeah.
So bad.
I'll send my money. Here was my goal when I was in the toilet. Every week, so that I knew that if I was in the playoffs, if I would actually. That could happen. Over the last 2 games, I played. Oh, they go to Valencia. Canceled. Closing on Thursday. Right there. What do you mean? This week?
Numbers? That's crazy. Let's see. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. All right. You guys ready to get started? Oh, good. Somebody already turned on the music. All right, so first off, I want to say welcome to, thank you, Leslie. Welcome to our monthly market update. Who's excited? So this is one of our more popular trainings that we host here each month. This is a chance for us to have a conversation as real estate professionals around what's going on in the market. I will be your facilitator for the conversation today. So no, I'm not going to sit here and talk at you guys about the market. I will share some opinions, but more importantly, I'm going to present to you data that should help us be able to educate our buyers and sellers at a much higher level. So this is going to be a pretty fun and lengthy conversation. Today, we're going to be going through numbers. We are also going to be sharing some of the top economists' outlook for 2025 and what we're facing. And then there were also 2 really big reports that came out over the last month that I wanted to introduce to you guys as really, really good talking points for your pipeline. Does that sound like a good conversation today?
Yeah.
Awesome. Before we do that, we got some really cool stuff happening, including the addition of a couple of new associates that's joined our brokerage, including Derica Joe, who's actually here for her first one today. Everybody say hi, DJ.
Hi, DJ.
She likes her nickname DJ, so she does not. And then Chris Young, who also just joined our office, is a brand new licensee. Was there any other new licensees here? Yes, there was a new licensee in the state of Colorado. Martina, she got her license in Colorado, so that's really cool stuff there too. And then we do have a guest. Diana. Everybody say hi, Diana.
Hi.
Let's not scare her off, so calm down. All right. So really cool stuff that's happening right now. We will do some further celebrations at next Thursday's All Partners meeting, which, by the way, who knows what else we're doing next Thursday? Gift exchange. I just learned that, so that's going to be fun. So,
And gift wrapping after.
And gift wrapping afterwards.
Gift wrapping after.
There you go. Right.
I want a squatty potty.
Okay. Ryan needs a squatty potty because he was feeling sick this week after he came back from his trip. All right, so let's take a look at what we're going to be doing today. So we already got the introductions out of the way. The first thing we're going to talk about is our residential report. We're going to take a look at what's going on with single-family residential and then the condo townhome markets. We So we'll take a look at different statistical categories, first single family, then condos and townhomes. We'll then touch on a couple of things of what's going on with new homes. We'll break down the economic report. And then in our latest headlines, I'm going to spotlight a few news stories for you guys that you can be sharing on social media and with your buyers and sellers. But again, that's also the section where I want to actually break down a couple of really interesting reports that had come out, one by National Association of Realtors, and then another one by Zillow. So we'll go into a couple of those things, and then I'll finish today with 5 really big tips as you prepare for 2025. Couple other housekeepings for you. Number one, this is a conversation, so we ask that everybody participates in it. Please don't just sit back and be quiet. Share your insights, ask your questions. There is no such thing as a dumb question in a setting like this. Yes, there is no such thing as a dumb question. And then also, when it comes to note taking, you don't need to worry about writing down statistics. We like to tell you guys that we will send you guys a slide deck. Instead, what you should be doing is talking about specific clients or talking points that might come up that you'd want to actually take action on after two. All right, let's get into it. So we're going to start with our residential report, and let's go ahead and break down first closed sales. So in the month of November, we had 1,647 closings on the single family residential side. That was a 14% drop compared with October. However, it was exceeding November of 2023 sales total. So let's take a look before I spill that. Let me show you guys really quickly. This is what 2024 has been looking like, okay? So we started off the year spiking upwards and then coming down towards the second half of the year. Is that normal?
Yep. Yes.
What do we call that?
Seasonality.
Seasonality. So there's seasonality in the real estate market. There's some months that are hotter, other months that are not. What happens in the fourth quarter that makes it slower? The holidays. Okay, that's one thing, right? So the holidays definitely threw things for a wrench this year. People are spending their money on credit card debts as opposed to houses. What's that? Jeez. What's that?
School starts.
School starts. That also slows down the real estate market. And then what else happened this year?
The election.
Jesus. Yeah, that's great. Wow. That was great. Yes, that's absolutely right. The election also slowed things down this year. Okay. So you have to understand that this is not abnormal for us to see it slowing down. But with that being said, what does that also mean? Likely at the start of the year, what should be happening next? You're going to start to see the spike up. Okay. So you have to understand one thing here. That's spiking up. If that's when you choose to start working hard, you already missed the train. Okay. Those conversations should have been happening over the last 30 to 90 days. If you haven't been starting it, start now. Get in touch with your pipeline and your database right away so you can start capturing some of this traffic that's going to be happening over the first 4 months of the year. All right. Now, one other thing about closed sales that we like to spotlight. So 1,647 closings. For every closing, there's approximately 2 commission checks. Some of those, there is not going to be a second commission check because it might be a new home that was posting some standing inventory. So a lot of times what we'll do is we'll take this closing number, we'll multiply it by 2, and then subtract a few from that. So 1,600 times 2 is what? Good job, Chris, 3,200. And let's just say there were about 200 of those where there wasn't a second commission check cut. So let's take 200 away. So that means approximately how many commission checks on the single family side were cut? 3,000 commission checks in the month of November. How many real estate agents do we have right now?
14,000.
We are closer to 14,000 now. That number's been going down. And what's coming up in January? Dues, not just dues, the due, right? It's going to be over $700 that agents are going to have to pay to keep their membership active. What do you think is going to happen to membership count then? Yeah, we can count on membership count going down. Is that a good thing or bad thing, Chris?
Great thing.
He's brand new and he already knows that's a good thing. Why is that a good thing? Less competition. It's also less competition happening at a time which we could see an increase in real estate transactions. When those 2 things are happening, it's a beautiful thing. More deals happening and less people around to take those deals. Let's rock and roll. Okay. But nonetheless, you still are encountering an issue. 3,000 commission checks with 14,000 mouths to feed. What's the issue there? Not enough food on the table to feed those mouths, okay? So the individuals that are sitting back and waiting for the deals to come to them, they're starving and they're looking like me. Brian Burrow's joke. All right, let's take a look at the condo townhome market and see what's going on. 476 condos and townhomes were closed. 476, that is a 12% drop month over month, but a nice meager 4% increase year over year. Let's take a look here, and you'll notice that, again, very similar seasonality, where in the middle months, we do see it spike up and then come down in the second half of the year. Some very interesting things going on with the condo townhome market if you've been tracking, though. We're going to talk about that in a second. Closed volume, single family residential, just under $1 billion for the first month in several months, under $1 billion in closed sales volume for a month. Okay. Taking a look here, the closed volume has been going down. Why is closed volume going down month over month? Yeah. Now you have to keep in mind, it is a nice 18% increase year over year. However, we are seeing closed sales volume go down month over month because there are less transactions happening. Okay. The reason why we're seeing year-over-year increases is because values are higher than it was a year ago. All right. On the condo townhome side, 152 million in closed volume. That was an 11% drop compared with October, but a 14% increase year over year. Good news that we're seeing increases in closed volume year over year, because closed volume, as we like to talk about, this tells us, since we typically get paid a percentage of the total closed volume that's happening, that should mean that there's more available income for us as real estate professionals. Okay, so there's approximately 18% more available income on the single family side and 14% more on the condo townhome side. Median sales price did jump back up, so we're going back towards closer to that record. What is the record for median sales price on single family? Nope. 482, right? 482. That's right. That was set in May of 2022. We did hit our record of 482. Great job, Brian. Everybody laugh at Brian. Yeah, that's not even rounding up. Like, when do we do that? So 480,000. We are just on the brink of setting that record again. That is a 1% increase month over month and an almost 7% increase year over year. The median sales price on condo townhomes, after we just set the record on condo townhomes, what was the median sales price on condo townhomes last month? That's right, 315,000, Shanna. Great job. Yes.
Thank you.
We did go backwards. We're down to 301,250. So it was a decrease month over month, but year over year increase. Median days on market when a new single family home or resale, when a home hits the market, on average, about how long does it take before it goes under contract with its buyer? On the single family side, that number is 24. So just over 3 weeks, you should see if a house is priced right and it looks good. Don't go panicking. It's going to take about 3 weeks for it to go under contract. That was a subtle increase month over month and a pretty substantial increase year over year. So homes are moving slower this time this year than a year ago. All right. Now you have to understand this. Where was this number at the height of COVID when homes were selling super fast?
Yeah.
2021, look at how low we got. We got as low as, in May of 2021, 6. Which Brendan said 3 hours, and that's probably more realistic, right? So comparing that with May of 2021, who was working as a licensed real estate professional in May of 21? Yep. How was that, Les? It was very great if you were helping a listing, and Les actually used to have a lot of hair, and in May of 2021, he lost it all because he was working with a lot of buyers who were making him pull his hair out of his head, right?
I think working with
What were you going to say, Brendan?
It really helped to having relationships with the listing agents, because if you could make your people stand out when you're going up against 10 or 15 other people, it really helped.
That's right. You know, one thing that you allude to that doesn't change is the importance of articulating 2 things with a buyer or a seller up front. So who here, with 100% of the people you work with that want to buy a house, you meet them for a buyer consultation? Raise your hand. 100% of the people you work with. For those that raise your hand, pivot to that strategy as soon as possible. Anytime we're dealing with a shifting market, what happens is there's a shift in expectations, okay? And so what's happening right now is you have a ton of people that are waiting on the sidelines to buy a house. What's going to happen when these interest rates start showing 5-point ... Mike? Demand is going to skyrocket, okay? And those buyers are not going to understand the change in dynamics of the market right away. So without you holding a buyer consultation, you're going to be the one to blame when that experience goes sideways. Okay? So host a buyer consultation that sets expectations. Now, Here's two things that should be covered in every buyer consultation. The one of those is your value proposition. What is it that you do that services a client and provides a great experience for them in the market that they're in right now? You might have a list of things that you're doing for them. In a slower moving market, your ability to negotiate and get closing costs and concessions towards things like a rate buy down, that should be in 100% of your value propositions. The second thing that should be in all of your buyer consultations is what's your unique selling proposition? Who here could share with the group? What does a unique selling proposition mean?
It's what makes you you. What have you gone through in your life, previous jobs, experiences that creates the experience for the client?
Brendan comes to a lot of these classes, and so that's exactly right, Brendan. So what is it about your background, from the classes the trainings that you've been in, the previous jobs, your family upbringing? What is it about you that makes you different from the other 14,000 knuckleheads that says, I got a license to sell real estate, right? You have to set yourself apart, and you have to articulate a value proposition that says you're going to be okay when you work with me. All right? Yes, Brian.
VIP experience, baby.
Love you, Brian.
Thank you.
Love you. Aren't we glad to have Brian back from his cruise? Yeah. God, we missed you, buddy. You wouldn't know because you haven't been around the office lately, Jeff. Yeah, just kidding. I love you. Condo town. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm going to come after you if you don't come to the office. Median days on market for condos and townhomes, 28. So this is your first alert that something is going on with condos and townhomes. Take a look at the change in month over month and year over year. Okay. We had a 27% increase in the median days on market month over month and a 55, almost 56% increase year over year. What is that telling you? Well, they're moving slower, right? Just taking that statistic at face value, condos and townhomes are moving slower than they were a month ago and a year ago. Why that's happening, we could peel back the onion and talk about it, which we're going to spotlight today. Okay. What'd you say?
HOA is on top of the already high interest rate.
Okay. So you guys are tiptoeing around the one word that we really need to be talking about when we talk condos and townhomes. What's the issue with those?
Price is one of two.
Starts with an A, ends with affordability.
Same thing.
Yeah, right? All of that amounts to affordability. So we'll talk about that in a second. Let's talk about what's going on with inventory. Single family residential. We have 5,570 homes available in the month of November. That was a slight decrease month over month, a 28% increase in the number of single family homes available year over year. Okay. So we have more options available. If I'm thinking about buying a house, good news. I can be a little bit pickier with what I'm looking for, and I should be able to find some options. If it's not there today, there's a good chance that it might come in the next couple of weeks because there's more listing activity. At least that's what that should be saying. Let's take a look on the condo and townhome side. 1,856 condos and townhome units available. Take a look at the year-over-year growth in inventory. Almost a 47% jump in the number of homes that are available. Okay? For those of you that have gone to Econ 101, you'll understand the law of supply and demand and how that can alter things like the price of goods and services. So when the supply jumps up 47% in 1 year, what do you think is going to happen?
Balance out or go down.
They might, at the very least, the product will move a little bit slower, right? Because there's more options available. Right?
Dan,
Oh, who's talking?
that's me, Nate. I'm on Zoom.
What's up, Nate?
I hate to interrupt, man, but the screen shut down. We're not seeing any of the slides on the side. There we go. Thank you.
I have no idea what I did, but you're welcome, Nate. Good to see you, bud. So the number of homes available, 1,856. And thank you. By the way, if anybody on Zoom also wants to participate, you're more than welcome to. So let's talk about one thing here, okay? We share with you the number of homes that are available so that you could understand, hey, there's more options or less options that are available. But that doesn't really help us understand the behaviors of the market. What we do is we study something called months of inventory. Now, we have a couple of people that are new to this conversation that might not understand what this means. So just a quick review for you. What we do is we like to take a look at the number of homes that were available and compare it with the current rate at which we're selling homes. When we divide the number of homes that are available by the number of homes that's sold in a given month, that spits out for us something called an absorption rate. We calculate absorption rate using the term months of inventory, okay? Absorption rate refers to if we weren't to get another home on the market and we were just to sell our current inventory at the rate at which we're currently selling homes, how fast would we sell out of all of our homes? And when we get that number, we then put that on a scale to help us understand which type of market we're in. So who here has heard the term seller's market, buyer's market, balanced market, right? That number will tell us what type of market we're in. Usually when this number is 0 to 3.5 months, we're in a seller's market. 3.5 to 5.5 months, we're in a balanced market. Anything above 5.5 months, we're usually in a buyer's market. So in single family residential, where are we at? We're in a seller's market, right on the cusp of a balanced market, right? 12% increase in this number in 1 month and almost 12% increase year over year. More importantly, when you're looking at this number, you don't want to just take a look at where the number is at. You want to look at the trend and the direction in which the number is moving. What direction is that number moving? It's increasing. So if it's increasing, it's moving towards a balanced and buyer's market. Okay. This is the most important slide that you can study at a market update. Where is the market at today and where has it been headed? Okay. Because if I'm talking to a buyer and I'm seeing this, let's just take this slide first at face value. Okay. There's going to be more I'm going to dig into in just a second. But if I'm talking to a buyer, what is important for them to know based off of this?
If more inventory is gonna eventually come on the market.
Hey,
Right?
so that more inventory should be coming, more options should be
They'll have
coming.
more availability. In addition to less competition.
Okay.
Or did I see that?
What does this
Yeah.
mean for
The
me?
closer it's getting to a balanced market, you're gonna have a lot more of an ability to have some leverage as a buyer to
Right.
potentially work a little bit towards your advantage. Not much because balance is gonna kind of level it off, though it gives you a little.
That's
bit of
right.
leverage.
I don't need to necessarily go and offer 30,000 above a list price on a home that just hit the market like I was having to do in 2021.
Right.
Right? I can put in a good offer at list price, maybe even ask some concessions, even on the homes that have listed in the first week. And I should be at least be able to enter negotiations. That's the activity that we're seeing right now.
And here, that's where your agent as a buyer, the more they know about you and all of the strengths you have in the power of buying for you, your particular, can give you the leverage over someone else.
That's exactly right. Now, what does this mean if I'm consulting with a seller? Go ahead, Les.
He has to be realistic.
Mhm.
Okay. Talk to me like I'm your seller. What do you mean?
So just let you know, this house is probably gonna sit here. We don't price it right. It's gonna sit here for a minute. Don't get mad at me. Okay? Okay.
And not only that, also is that the seller, like when we're having our listing appointments, I feel that we should be explaining to our sellers that, hey, we are gonna be in a balanced market. And what that means to you is we may get offers that the agent may be asking for apples and oranges or to pay the buyer's
That's exactly right.
concessions.
That's exactly right.
Mhm.
Jeanette brings up two really, really, really good points. Full start for you today.
Well, I love
Or
you
this
too.
today. Yeah. So two really important things. Number one, you need to have your pricing strategy conversation down. When you go on a listing appointment, do you know how to help a seller understand where is an effective price in today's market? This isn't the market where you're pricing at the high end of the spectrum. You need to be right in the middle, if not just below the middle. Because what's going to happen 2 weeks after that listing hits the market, Luis?
It's gonna sit there.
What's going to happen within
Neighbor's
2
gonna
weeks?
list.
So somebody else is going to come and undercut that listing.
Mhm.
Okay? So that's what happens in a balanced market. Your home's not going to move really fast because there just isn't a lot of demand, and there's a good chance a competitor's going to come in here and undercut us. So do you want your property to sell their house or yours? And let's price this thing correctly. All right? The second thing that we need to bring up with those individuals, with sellers, is bringing a copy of the purchase agreement at every listing appointment. Because what a seller needs to understand in a balanced market right now is what?
It's what the buyers are actually doing.
What the buyers-
What they want.
What they're
requesting.
asking for on a purchase agreement, which includes concessions and update as of this year. What else has been included now, Amy? On the purchase agreement? The buyer
Yeah,
agent
the buyer's
commission,
agent.
right?
Compensation.
Compensation. Yes. Okay? No, we don't say cooperate. Anyways. Here's the deal. How many of you are having that conversation with a seller up front? What happens when we skip over that conversation up front? What is the seller likely to do?
You blindside them when you receive an
Yeah,
offer.
get mad.
Seller's gonna tell you that they don't need a commission from me, they can kick rocks,
Uh-huh.
right? And the expectation's been completely flipped upside down for them. They have to go in right now expecting to pay that commission. And then work with them, right? Use your skills as a negotiator. But guys, this is the thing right now. We got to set expectations for our buyers and sellers to help them hit the goals they want. And when we're moving towards a balanced market, that's one of the things they should at least go and expect it, right? Under promise and over deliver. So what we like to do is we like to break this. This is such an important statistic because it tells us the state of the market, that it's not fair to say this is what's happening all across Vegas. Each price point is going to have a different set of activities that's going on. So I introduced to you a vomit. This is a vomit of statistics. Now, what you're going to see here, and stay with me, I'll pinpoint what you need to focus on the most. These are the different price segments. We've just broken them up by $100,000 segments at a time. And then at the very far right in the yellow column, you're going to notice that is the most current month. What are the months of inventory for that price point? Okay. So from 0 to 100,000, what's that? And this is just for single family residential. What's the months of inventory there?
Is that a thing?
It's not, right? Because we don't have homes, at least not homes with drywall that are single family that are under 100,000, right? That's right, yeah. And same thing with 100 to 2,000, right? So we have 7 months, but it's realistically like 5 homes that are available in that price point. So 200 to 3,000, 200 to 300,000, we're at 2.71 months. 300 to 400, we're at 3.42 months. And then the balanced market begins right here. From 400 to 500, we're at 3.6 months. 500 to 600, we're at 4.4 almost. 4.3 at 600 to 700. 5 months of inventory from the $700,000 to $800,000 mark. The 800 to 900 is at 5.3. The 900 to $1 million is at 6.93, and anything above $1 million is currently sitting at 10 months of inventory. Okay. Now you notice there's a lot of different colors here. No, I wasn't trying to create some sort of minesweeper thing. What I was trying to do is make it easier for you to understand the trend in which that number was going. Green means it was going higher the previous month. Red means it was going lower. And for this month, since I wanted to keep it yellow or gold, I just made the number itself either green or red if it was higher or lower. Okay. So what are some trends that stick out on this? Great. While you guys are quiet, I'm going to take a bite of pizza.
I can't even see.
I can't see it either.
August, September, all green is.
Yeah. And then June is on.
What happened in September?
Interest rate drop.
So first off, let's explain what that's showing. What that's saying is months of inventory was up across the board.
But volume was down.
So why did we see increase in months of inventory in September?
I think it plays a huge factor with how hot this summer was. If you go back and look at all the slides, all of September was lower than October, which means the activities that led up to the month of September means people were doing less during the summer.
Okay. One of 3 things happens when this number is either going up or down. Okay. So let's just talk about when these numbers go up, when we're moving towards a balanced market. Either 1, there was less demand. 2, there was more inventory, or 3, a combination of both. That makes it happen at an accelerated case. So which of those 3 happened in September?
It was all of it. It was a combination of both.
Primarily less demand. Okay, September saw less demand. All right. You have to remember what happens in September.
Back to
Kids
school.
go back.
Kids go back to school, and so the parents are like, "Great, I can get my head screwed on straight, and get ready for the holidays now." Right.
Right.
So the home buying and selling stops. Okay. So what other trends are you noticing?
700 went down.
607 went down, and that is after been going up. I mean, look at it. Just in May of 24, the 600, 700,000, we were sitting at less than 2.5 months of inventory, and we've now jumped up to 4, almost 4.5 months. It's just been going up, 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 up. What is the most popular selling price for single-family residential, you'd say?
3 to 550.
4 to 5, and what's happening? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months in a row, we've seen subtle increases in months of inventory. And our highest activity of single-family residential right now. When that's happening, now time for us to focus on what's going on. Okay? So something big that I wanted to make sure that you guys were noticing there, 400 to 500 has been moving up. We're not quite in a crazy place where it's like 5 months. You don't need to go Chicken Little, the sky is falling. But you do need to make sure you're consulting your buyers and sellers right now. All right. Condo townhome, we don't break it up by price point because it's all just kind of clustered in that anywhere from $200,000 to $600,000 point. We are sitting at 3.9 months of inventory, and this is the big spotlight I want to show you. This puppy dog accelerated really fast in a short amount of time. Take a look here. We were at under 2 months of inventory in May. We are now almost at 4 months. That's almost twice the amount. That's more than twice the amount of months of inventory in just a 6-month span. It's a 42% increase in months of inventory year over year. So if I'm talking to a condo or townhome right now, I am having a very serious conversation about pricing ahead of the market, which is below fair market value right now. You're going to get undercut and you're not going to move. Why is that happening?
First-time buyers are the ones that always get affected first.
Bingo. Okay. So you remember, less demand, more supply. And right now, demand is plummeting on the condo townhome side. It's plummeting because with these interest rates, and then you throw in what Diana was saying with HOA fees, affordability is a really tough issue for us to overcome right now on the first-time home buyer side.
Well, plus on the
Plus FHA, it's like a lot of condominiums are not FHA approved. So they have to come in.
Mike would laugh at that. Yeah.
I think that also, they're building townhomes and condos everywhere, so you can get new over pre-existing at a better rate, and it's brand new, so you're competing with that market.
Yeah, you bring up such a good point. One of the reports right now that I was going to highlight for you guys, rent growth is actually the lowest it's been in 2 years right now. Why is rent not growing right now?
They literally have 27 new apartment buildings being built right now.
Because if you drive around the 215 and you throw a stink bomb, you're going to take out about 6 apartment buildings.
Well, that's the thing too, is they're building more apartments than condos.
And what's happening is because they're building so many of these, rent is coming down. And if I'm a first-time home buyer, I can go rent a property for $1,800 or I can go buy it and spend $2,500 a month.
Why do you think that so many more are selling? Would you say it's kind of like in correlation with rent and maybe they're not able to get tenants? Like,
My neighbor has
it
6.
also said not just that the months of inventory are up because there are there's fewer demand, but it also said that the inventory increase.
That could be one of the factors. Now, let's think about this. Why would there be more condo and townhome sellers right now?
Because a lot of them are used as investments and they're dumping their investments because they're not netting as high on their cash flow with their.
We have 6 empty in our neighborhood right now, and that's the exact reason why they're all empty. And but 2 of them have tried to sell, but they're trying to sell at the top of the price too, so it's kind of made them stagnant.
Okay, so dumping an investment?
When they bought, that's all they could afford. So now they're dumping it because now that rate's come down and they're anticipated to come down to 5.7 next year. Now you're gonna see that they're gonna dump those and go into single family.
Okay, so a couple of different things there. Yeah, Brian.
I think financial hardship.
Yeah.
On the property, take some equity, pay off some debt. And,
That's it. Hit a reset button. Right.
Those 2 ones are starting to, 2s and 3s right now.
If any of you ever say the phrase "marry the house, date the rate," I'm going to throw a eaten slice of pizza at you. Don't use that phrase. Stop with that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a terrible idea. Yeah. Don't teach people that kind of mindset, at least in my opinion. I feel like you're not setting your people up for success. You're using a catchy sales quote that, I mean, think about this. If somebody marries the house and dates the rate, what's the risk associated with somebody buying a house and thinking, I'll just change the rate later on when it drops? Go ahead, Mike.
$1,000 less than you bought it for, and nobody's gonna want to refinance you. So they're gonna be stuck in that rate possibly for like 10 years.
That was exactly what we were talking about a year ago if you came to these market updates. Stop saying that because of that very thing. There is no guarantee you could refinance the house, especially if you don't have the equity in the property.
Plus, the buyers said, I'm gonna wait till rates go down 3% before I buy. That'll never happen.
That's right.
That's not gonna happen at least in my lifetime.
Dan, I got a question about balanced market.
Yes, sir.
Do you guys as agents talk about the fact that like you're blasting into the balanced market, right? Like to say something's balanced when you see the inventory skyrocketing over 3 months, when I hear it, it doesn't make any sense because it's, although we're going into a balanced market, do you bring up which way it's trending? Because I feel like that's the reason why more people are selling. They realize time to go.
Well, this is why we have this chart presented to you this way, because we don't want to just say 3.9 months, because what are most agents going to say? We're in a balanced market. You guys have to understand what we're telling you right now. Within 6 months, we've doubled the state of inventory on condos and townhomes.
I think,
That's a fast
I
moving
think by
situation
March,
right
we
now.
have a whole different conversation.
Well, we're relying on one thing to happen, which we're going to talk about in a second, okay?
Well, I mean, we already have, we're already short 3 million homes in this country, right? Now, local, we're still short homes. As soon as the rates do drop, and they will, they'll drop in that, they're what, high sixes now, Mike?
High fives.
Housing Wire, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, they all anticipate 5.7 by mid-2025. When that happens, that inventory is gonna get chewed up quick. That's gonna flip-flop. I think we have a whole different conversation. Between March and May.
Won't we see a bunch of inventory hit, because now people can actually
It will,
afford that next
it'll be a good thing, but that'll be slower.
Okay.
But it depends, like, I feel
It's all based on
saying,
affordability.
like, our city is a little different, and we're gonna have so many people also coming in,
Right.
that it's almost hard to predict, are we going to have an influx in inventory like the rest of the nation possibly? Or will,
Just my only advice, because I do have some people here who haven't been to these market updates before, be careful with your crystal ball, predictions. Thank you, whoever said that. Yeah, be careful with those because a lot of times those things don't work out. We are in such a volatile environment. Like, remember, Brian, I'm looking at you. I think it was in March. We were saying like September, these rates are going to drop back below 6. And then September came around like, just kidding, right? Like,
I told you both,
right?
Remember? I said they'll be close to 8.
Oh, now we're saying March. Okay, so we just got to be careful. That's right.
We have so much industry that's coming in over the next 2 years, 3 at the most, that you're going to need an increase of housing for that alone. I mean, the houses, people are going to be coming
Yeah.
here for that.
Yeah.
purpose.
I feel like with conversation with sellers, it's really like showing them where we were, where we are now, and what historically happened in January.
That's right.
Inventory.
Focus on the state of the market today, right? When you start talking about the future, what happens to your prospect is it creates uncertainty for them. And what do people usually do when they're uncertain? Nothing whatsoever. They just sit there with their eyes as big as possible saying, wait. Okay? So new listing activity. What's going on the single family side? A 25% drop in listing activity in November. Don't freak out. That's normal this time of the year. People would rather stuff turkeys into their mouth than won't put their property on the market. But it is an 8% increase in November activity year over year. If you are taking new listings, by the way, and you got a Christmas tree on there, just be careful about that. Make sure that you redo the picture in January. Otherwise, your listing looks really dated and old right after Christmas. Condo townhome, 729. That was a 12% drop month over month, but a 15% increase year over year in new listings. So there's still more sellers this time this year. That's been the same trend every month. More sellers this year than last year, okay? The month over month activity, that's typical. But the sellers are here and they're wanting to dump their properties. And as those interest rates continue to decline, as we hope they will, more sellers are going to come to the market more and more and more. Okay?
I'm very curious where the pending data is at, because those two play hand in hand.
Me too. So let's talk about it. So we have pending sales. 2,151 pending sales on single family residential. It was a 14.5% drop month over month. We saw less buying activity. That's nothing to freak out about either. People would rather stuff turkey in their mouth than go and buy a house. It is a 14% increase in buyer activity compared with the same time a year ago. Mortgage rates are lower this year than they were a year ago. So, of course, we're going to be seeing that. On the condo townhome side, take a look. We're not seeing as big of an increase year over year. Okay. 615, which was a 13% drop and only a 3.5% increase year over year. Price reduction activity. This tells us if a listing's on the market and it's not getting any movement, what should they do to get some movement? That's right. For those that don't do sign language, he did this. And that means drop the price, right? So we had a 25% decline in price reduction activity, but a 14% increase year over year. So there are more price reductions happening, primarily because there's more inventory. On the condo townhome side, look at that year over year increase. 36% increase year over year in condo townhome price reductions. Okay. Got to be careful, guys. The last thing you want to be doing on your listings is doing a price reduction, but it's the first thing you need to be doing if you're not getting any activity on it. Expired listings, 14% decline month over month, 6.4% increase year over year. Who's doing what on January 1st? That's right. Get ready. That's the big day of expireds. Nurse your hangover for Brian Burrows, and for the rest of you, get in the office and start calling expireds. Okay? If you don't believe me, take a look. Every January, we see a spike in expired listings. Take a look at that one right there. 941 on one month. Okay. What's that? That was in 2014. That was December. So typically in January, we're going to see a lot of them. And why is that? Because most people in their listing agreement, they put, what is the expiration date? December 31st. That's right. That's right. Expired listings on the condo townhome side. Look at that. 41% increase year over year. Oof, I'm excited. Let's go call the condos and townhomes. Wait, do I have it on here? Back on markets. There you go. See? Me too. 595 cancellations on the single family side. That was an 8% increase year over year, a 9% drop month over month. On the condo townhome side, only a 7% increase year over year on cancellations. Okay. All right. Before we go to high rises, what sticks out to you on the residential report? What did you get?
I mean, regardless of the fact that we're down month over month, everything was up year over year, so we're still having growth. The price is holding strong. We're only 2,000 below the high, so we're at the grasp of still being able to beat that.
Well, and makes
Still have
me kind of
business.
optimistic too, considering what's went on this year.
Yeah.
You know, with the election, with the high interest rates, with, you know, all the bullshit that we had to deal with this year. You know, kind of, it's optimistic for next year, for sure.
Yeah.
On the resale side, there's so much more opportunity because of potential tariffs and stuff. It could slow down new builds, which gives pre-existing homes a little bit more of an edge again.
That's right. That's right.
Good point.
Brian.
24 better than 20.
24 is better than 23. Yeah.
The numbers show it.
So here's a couple things to keep in mind. Okay. Closed sales. We had 1,600, a little over 1,600 single family in this most recent month. You know, before COVID was happening, as we were seeing the growth in numbers, we were averaging about 2,500 to 3,000 closings per month. So if you listen to that, that's about 1,000 to 1,500 transactions every month that was not happening and going on the sidelines. And that's been the activity for about 18 months now. So who's got a calculator? Let's just do the low end. 1,500 per month. So 1,500 times 18. What is that? 27,000 transactions have been stacking up over the last year and a half that are just waiting to happen. Multiply that number by 2. 54,000 individual buyers and sellers.
Do you take 40% off of that though, because of how many homes are being bought for never going back on the market? They're going to become permanent rentals. I mean,
No. All right. 54,000. 54,000.
And then the agent count drops a little bit.
What is that telling you?
Optimistic. 25 can be a good year.
As Shanette said so brilliantly, we finna eat. Yeah. That sentence never sounded more awkward coming from somebody. My goodness, my grandmother's in her grave, like.
Exactly.
But said differently, there's a lot of money about to be made. Okay, 54,000 commission checks are about to be handed out, Oprah Winfrey style. You get a buyer, you get a seller. All right. Are you doing the activities to go find one of those people that went to the sideline? Why did they go to the sideline? One reason was what? Fear of what? Fear of the unknown? Okay. I like that. Yeah. Election. What else? Affordability. Those gosh darn Michael Cornacchio interest rates. That weren't bad, but we were trained the mortgage rate you should get is 3%. That's what the public was trained. 3%, 4%. And then they start hearing 5%, like, ooh, you might as well give me some dookie. I'm not doing that.
What you need to do is add that slide for at least for all the newer agents, the KW research one that we had where it showed from like, was it 72 to now?
If you take a look at the last 20 years and you average the mortgage rate, the average is 7.5%. So even at where we're at today, which is what, Mike? 6, we're well below what people are actually seeing right now.
Like, it was from 90 to now it's 5.71 from
That's right.
72 till now.
Now, let me say something here because this is going to be another marry the house, date the rate thing. Careful how you talk about this. Okay, you don't want to sound like an ignorant salesperson by saying like, listen, is 6 really that bad when the average is 7.5? Because what is somebody going to tell you? Listen, dummy, I'm getting a single family home for $3,500. That would have cost me $2,700 a year ago. So we have to be able to empathize with that story a little bit as we talk about this here. Okay. And then you end the conversation with saying, listen, at the end of the day, just marry the house and date the rate. Just kidding. Just kidding. All right, high rise. Let's take a look what's going on really quickly. We had 50 closings for high. Brian, were you going to say something?
No.
Okay. 50 closings. That was a 20% drop year over year in high rise activity. We're not seeing a lot of high rise activity. You know, what happened was high rises were pretty subtly purchased. Then in 2020, you'll see right there, they took a plummet. Why did the high rises plummet? Because of COVID, right? Because the appeal of getting a high rise kind of went away because nobody was coming and staying in the high rise. And if I own a high rise, one of the big benefits is if that gets rented out to somebody that's staying there, they will split that revenue with me, right? So I didn't have to take care of anything. Well, oh crap, COVID said you can't come and stay here. Well, why am I owning this thing? And I'm paying how much per month for an HOA on one of those? $760. Some of them were like a mortgage, like $1,200, right? Yeah. So it went away, and then all of a sudden people say, hey, you don't need to get toilet paper anymore. Come hang out with us and come stay. And everybody all of a sudden came and lost all their money once if they didn't get COVID. So in 2021, they came and bought a lot of them. In 2022, when the interest rates spiked, what happened? I mean, literally, May of 22 was when the interest rates jumped. And what do you notice? Closed sales dropped off right away, right? And closed volume. So that hasn't really recovered yet. Oh my goodness, what am I doing? That hasn't really recovered yet. Median sales price. You got to be careful about talking about median sales price because a lot of you, when you look at median sales price and you talk about the increase or decrease, you're assuming that means that the prices have appreciated. That's not what that means, okay? Median sales price is simply this. We take a look at all of the closings, we arrange it from lowest price to highest price, we just take a look at the middle data point. So we just understand what are people typically buying on average in that area, okay? So right now we're sitting at 425,000, which was a 19% increase month over month and a 10% increase year over year. Median days on market, take a look at this. Has anybody looked at a high rise on any tower? What do you notice? They're ugly. When you comp it, what do you notice, Amy? A high rise.
Okay. So, that have sold.
That have sold. Sorry. There is nothing but actives, right? And like one or two, yeah, that's exactly right. There's like one or two solds and you have a bunch of actives. Right now, if you're comping a high rise listing, you got to look at the active and say, all right, let's go 10% below the lowest and let's rock and roll with it. It's crazy right now if you pull any high rise. If you don't believe me, so like this is evidence, 42% increase in median days on market for high rises. Let me just get to this. Look at that. Almost 11 months of inventory on high rises right now. They're not moving.
April of 2019.
What happened in April of 2020?
Oh, okay, thank you.
People don't necessarily.
You got sick, girl.
Look at like an actual market individually. They look at it as a whole. If you listen to the news, there's so much stigma behind high rises right now because of condo insurance and they're underfunded and having to get them into new funding levels. Even though it's not necessarily happening in Vegas, they're saying it's going to happen nationwide. So
yeah. Yeah, I think simply put, with when you think about this is primarily an investment purchase and money is so expensive to borrow right now, these ones are not going to be getting snatched up as they used to.
I'll tell you what, that new tower they're building downtown.
The LVX. Oh, the downtown one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Central. I forget what it's called. Yeah. What is it? It's not called Keller. It's
Fellow, yeah.
Is Keller. There was another one that they just announced 2 days ago. Something like that, yeah.
They're not.
Yeah, I think it's coming.
New listing activity on high rises is up 11% year over year. So we did see 114 new high rise listings. Pending activity is down 19% both month over month and year over year. Price reduction activity is up 17% year over year, and that's what's going on with high rises. Okay. Let's take a look at what's going on with new homes. I'm only going to tell you guys about two things because I am now going to secure for the new year. We're going to get local new home data. We're not messing around with that anymore. So this will be the last time we talk about national stuff, okay? So there's two things I'm going to talk about nationally. Number one, what is the new home sentiment score? This is based off of something called the Housing Market Index. National Association of Home Builders works with Wells Fargo and surveys builders across the nation on three things. Those three things are, what is your current traffic activity? What is your prospective sales activity for the next 6 months? And what is your closed activity as of the last month? They take those three indexes and then they pump out a score to us on a scale of 0 to 100. Anytime that number is 50 or above, that means a positive sentiment score for builders, and you'll see builders build more and offer less incentives. Everybody got it? So how do builders feel about homes right now? Not great, but it did move towards good, okay? So we went from 43 to 46 month over month. This same time a year ago, we were sitting at 38. So we are moving in the right direction, but we're not still at a positive score. Okay, Brian, is there anything you want to add about new homes since you do a lot of stuff with the new home community?
I mean, other than the fact that they're very friendly to us right now, it's awesome.
I got 3% from Lennar.
Yeah, I heard Lennar is playing right now.
It's only until the end of this month.
Yeah, a lot of
It's just incentives. If you
Well, yeah, it's just like a car dealership, right? End of year blowout sales. So yeah, yep.
if you have a buyer and you can get them in and close, Mike can most likely do it by the end of the month. Still, he's doing one for me. He just got approved. And so she, in 15 days, she'll have her new house with the incentive.
Shameless plug for our sponsor today, who also fed us amazing pizza, chicken, and salad. Mike Cornacha from All Western Mortgage. There you go. Yeah. Good job, buddy.
The highest number we were at this year for rate.
How about the builders?
The highest number this year? Oh, geez.
They're offering, builders, lenders are offering like FHA's freeze.
So have we not even been over 50%? We were at 51 was the high.
Yeah. Right to the home.
There you go.
Back out there.
The hottest time of the year, March and April, was when we had been over 50, which was a 51 in both of those months. We did set the record of 90 in November of 2020. Okay. All right. The only other thing I want to spotlight to you guys, look at the month supply of new homes. This is why you guys are seeing so many incentives. Remember, when this number moves up, it means either one of three things is going on. Less demand, more supply, or a combination of both. What is going on? There's both more supply and less demand happening right now. Okay. So this is going to mean that this number swings pretty fast, just so you guys know. New homes can swing within a matter of a couple of months to a really, really aggressive market. So just be ready for that, okay? All right. Let's talk a couple of economic things, and we're going to have some fun. So first, the jobs report came out at the beginning of the year, and it reported two things. The first of which was a 4.2% unemployment rate. That was a slight increase month over month and a pretty big increase year over year, a 0.5% increase. So unemployment is going up slightly. The bigger thing, though, is there were more. Here, let me show you unemployment for Nevada. 5.7%. Las Vegas is at 5.8% right now. So we are seeing a lot of unemployment. We're also seeing a lot of job growth. So when the jobs report came out, you see the big thing right now that the Fed is trying to get a hold on is preventing the economy from overheating again. When you pump the economy with trillions of free money and you make the borrowing of money near free, people go and spend like crazy people, okay? And that's exactly what happened. And the problem with people spending like crazy people is what? What's the problem with everybody spending crazy? What? Well, yeah, we go broke, but I'm not so worried about that because you can always recover from that. What happens over the next year? That price of that good and service will never go back to that again, right? So it's and what we saw in 1 year was 9% growth across the board on the price of goods and services, right? Insurances were going up 30, 40% year over year, right? Like it was insane for a lot of things you were doing. So the Fed does not like that. They like to see a nice what percent increase every year? 2% increase every year. And so what they're trying to do is get us back to a place economically where the price of goods and services are only increasing 2%. But see, what happened here is we still have money that's being spent and circulating, right? And that's allowing things to be happening over time. One of the first ways we could do that is stop the job growth. 227,000 jobs were created in 1 month, okay? So that right there tells us more businesses are still hiring, so prices could continue to go up. If you don't believe me, take a look at this. The CPI report did come out, and we did go the wrong way. We actually went up in inflation. So we went from 2.5 to 2.7%, okay? Now, here's the deal. There is reason to believe that we've actually already hit our target of 2%. Believe it or not, we already did. The reason why is because there's one particular item that takes up 40%. It has a weight of 40% on the consumer price index. And the problem with this thing, this part of the report, is that it is a lag of about 6 to 9 months. What is that number? It's shelter, right? And so shelter, when we're measuring the increase of that, is shelter increasing substantially right now? Pricing of shelter? It is. It's leveled off, right? Rents have not been increasing as substantially as they used to. And so what's happening is it's not measuring today, it's measuring from 6 months ago. So if we took that out, MBS highly reported, had you taken that factor out, we already hit the 2% mark. But because that is so heavily weighted, we're sitting at 2.7 right now. So this is why the Fed has a very good chance of doing something when they meet in 6 days. What are they meeting in 6 days to talk about? What? Not necessarily inflation. What are they going to meet to talk about? What interest rate?
The housing.
The
Fed rate.
The Fed rate. Ah, shucks. Where's my? Okay. Well, had it open on here. Somebody come on this computer. Ah, there it is. Okay. All right. Let me show you guys this. So in 5 days, 21 hours, and 31 minutes, the Fed is going to be meeting. They're led by a chairman by the name of Jerome Powell. Great job. So Jerome Powell will be meeting with his fellow chairman and woman, and they will be discussing what they're going to be doing with the Fed rate. The Fed rate is currently sitting at a target of 450 to 475. You don't really need to understand what this all means. I'm going to explain it in layman's terms for you, okay? The Fed's going to get together in 5 days, and they're going to talk about what to do with this interest rate. There is a 94% chance, almost 95% chance they're going to cut the rate. That's good news on a couple of different fronts. Let's talk about where this is bad news. When the Fed cuts the Fed rate, now, let me make clear what we're talking about. We're talking about the Fed rate, not mortgage rates. The Fed rate, when this rate is cut, the bad news is your savings accounts rates go down. So you could have been investing in a money market account, a CD, and you were getting really good rates for a long time because the Fed rate was pretty high. Now, when the Fed is cutting this rate, that negatively impacts your savings rates. Here's the good news. It makes it cheaper for you to borrow money. Your credit card rates, your HELOCs, your personal loans, those rates will go down, okay? Now, when the Fed does something with the Fed rate, that also influences the markets that decide what's going on with mortgage rates. So this is not a direct correlation, but if the Fed rate is talked about going down, that tells us there's a weakened economy, which should tell us mortgage rates should also go down.
Sometimes happens a few days before too, so it won't necessarily happen the day of. Sometimes it happens.
It nearly always happens before it occurs, okay? So here's the rule. What's the rule we're going to tell everybody, Shanette?
Yeah. Great.
No, stop with the marry the house, date the rate.
It is not. If the Feds cut the rate, it is a Fed rate. It is not.
Bingo. If you want to look for it, okay, remember, what we want to do is we want to instill trust and credibility with people. So one thing you could do is you could say, hey, have you heard that the Fed cut the rate today? And do you think that means cheaper mortgage rates today? and then you can educate them about that. Okay, that'd be a really good piece on that day. All right. So don't go publishing those videos because we saw it last time and we were kind of lost it on some people. All right. You didn't do it because you're amazing. You said base points? Whoa, what is happening here? Present. That's right. All right, let's go back to our presentation. We're almost done. So this is where the mortgage rates are at according to Freddie Mac Primary Mortgage Market Survey. This is updated every Thursday at 9 a.m. It's showing us an almost 10%, a tenth of a percent decrease week over week, and a 0.35% decrease year over year. Mortgage rates went down. Now, this is a once a week publishing of mortgage rates. If you're looking for a daily change, Mortgage News Daily or Optimal Blue publishes what's going on every day. Mortgage News Daily is my favorite. They have an app. I could open up the app and I could see what's going on with mortgage rates. Okay.
Hey, Dan.
Wait, before whoever's talking talks, hold on one second. You don't want to go publishing the rate. I'd rather you be discussing the direction of the rates and what's going on. They actually also publish a blurb, and you could publish that blurb out to your people so you could share the story of why rates are fluctuating.
Well, if you're not a licensed LO, you're not allowed to post rates and you start in trouble.
Okay. Nathan, were you going to say something?
Yeah, just question on those data points, the 0.09 and the 0.35. Are those actual bips or just a percentage of the entire mortgage rate?
That's just a percentage of the mortgage rate that was changed.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Okay. All right. So what you should be gathering is this. Okay. Economic reports show us that there is risk. We could be overheating again. So the Fed is going to cut rates, and there's a very good chance that then they're going to pause. They're going to chill out and let what they've done to the Fed rate do its magic first. Because what we don't want to have is make money cheap again where people go and start spending crazy. All right. We have a new president that's going to be inaugurated in January, who's going to have some additional policies put in place. And we need to see how some of those things are going to shake out. There's some things that might be exciting from a housing perspective. Then there's some things where like, uh-oh, what is that going to mean? Right. So there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding some of the changes that are coming over the coming months, where the Fed's best thing they could do is just hold off and see if their policy is actually going to make some changes. Okay. When there's any sort of hold off, what does that create for the general public? Starts with a U, uncertainty. And what do you think a lot of people are going to continue to do? Wait and listen to the news. Who is their news source? Yes, you do. If you look in the mirror, that's who it should be. But most of us are not being the news source for our people. And so they just constantly get fed information that makes them continue to be concerned. What do I do? All right. They lose sight of what's important when it comes to buying or selling a house. What is actually important to discuss and dig into? Payment. Motivation, right? So often, what does a buyer and seller actually want to focus on when they're thinking about buying a house or selling a house? What they really know, what they'll tell you, what they should be thinking of is that, Martina. What they want to have a conversation about, when's the right time to jump in, right? They want to talk about timing the market perfectly. Oh, okay. She's from Colorado, guys. There you go. At least got her life. There you go.
Tell them you gotta jump on the equity train someday.
Got to jump on the equity train and get groovy someday, okay? All right. So let's go into some news stories, shall we? And God, why is this thing doing that? Let's talk about what is going on in the news that's keeping me up at night. You be quiet.
Yeah, pretty brave when you need it.
Oh, yeah. Nicole. Is it this one? Okay. So, nope, that's not it. Shut up. Nope, that's not it. I don't know what I'm.
That's breaking news.
Happy early birthday, Les.
Thank you.
Okay. Before we talk about that, okay. Zoom, do you guys see a list of articles? Yes? Okay. All right, I'm going to take that as a yes. Okay. Let's talk about a few things that's going on in the news. 76% of home sellers say real estate agents are absolutely worth it. Woohoo! All right.
Over here.
Yeah. Brian's over here. Well, that means 24% didn't. 73% of recent home sellers say agents are the best way to sell. 77% opting for traditional full-service agents, outpacing all other methods, including FSBO and iBuyers by a wide margin. So that's good news, right? Do you think that's an article you might want to publish on social media?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I'm useful, and if you don't believe me, take a look. This is what other people are saying. If you're having that conversation, something's wrong. Martina. I'm going to publish them all on our Facebook group. Housing Wire had a mortgage rate forecast. They expect the bulk of the calendar year to be a range. Oh, this is funny. A range of 5.75 to 7.25. That's a really safe cushion. Jesus.
That's Freddie Mac's prediction right there.
No, this is Housing Wires.
Oh, how
MBA revised theirs, and they actually revised theirs up. They think the range is going to be somewhere between 6.4 to 6.6 through 2025. And it'll drop to 6.3 in 2026. That's from Mortgage Bankers Association. Okay. Yeah. Fannie Mae had previously projected it to dip below, previously it projected mortgage rates to dip below 5%, but now it expects rate at 6.3 in 2025 and 6% in 2026. What's that telling you? You have 3 economists that have told you it's probably going to hover in the 6s in the new year.
That's gonna be our new rate. That's what it is.
that's right where we should be anyways.
Yeah, stop making the rate the hub of your conversation. Okay? It's the payment and their motivation is what needs to be talked about, not the rate. They're going to have the same conversation for the next year, if not 2 years. And so they're focusing on the wrong thing right now. Okay. Moving on. One story that I want to spotlight for you guys. Single family rent growth drops to 4-year low. Only a growth of 2% right now we're seeing in rent. That is national data, yeah. Vegas is just as bad. I don't know what you guys are seeing, but rents are not growing big time out here in Vegas right now. Is Steve on here? Steve Bland? He's not. Shoot. He's usually on here for us. Okay. A couple more big things for us to talk about. Did you say Pahrum's doing good? That's awesome. Okay, so NAR, as some of you guys might have heard, they're dealing with they were dealing with a lawsuit and a settlement. And what happened with that settlement? It got approved by the courts. Okay, so as of November 26th, Judge Stephen Boff, I think his last name is, he signed off on the approval of the settlement, and now we're done. The dust is settled.
What one?
No, it's not. It's not even close to being settled. So 48 hours prior to NAR receiving approval on their settlement, there's a little group by the name of the Department of Justice that came out and said, we don't think that this is a good rule that's being instituted. More specifically, they're lasering in on the requirement of BBRAs getting signed before you can show a home to a buyer. They believe that's actually going to go back to us creating antitrust violations. So the long story short is this. The Department of Justice is not done with this, so this situation is not done just yet.
Is that the size Burnett trial or the trial?
Sitzer-Burnett, yes, the Sitzer-Burnett one. So the settlement that we have been approved on, the rules have been instituted. Right now, if you want to avoid fines and issues, you need to get a BBRA signed before you show any homes to a buyer. And you are to avoid having any references or conversations around cooperative compensation in the MLS, okay? Those rules are instituted and live right now. We've told you that this situation is not done as a brokerage. The Department of Justice has reaffirmed this isn't done, okay? So what's likely to happen is this conversation is going to be continuing reviews until the DOJ finally says, okay, this sounds better. But in the meantime, you don't have to operate in uncertainty. You know how to operate in your business. Use the BBRA, use the new RPA, and make sure you're having conversations around buyer agent compensation, using the residential purchase agreement, not having cooperative conversations with listing agents outside of that.
Dan, do you think
Nate, hang on, Nate. I got one question here, and then I'll come to you. Yes,
Sure.
Louise.
I have an investor that I work with. She's an attorney.
Speak loud so they can hear you too.
And he's been helping me a lot on it. Pushing on it. And she like revised that whole entire document into her verbiage. And she's been pushing on it. And the one thing that I'm having an issue with is no matter how much I explain it to her, even on a law term, she's my partner on show. She's still saying that that document is not protecting her. No matter how much you look at it, no matter what you say or whatever. I mean, we're in 4 transactions right now in multifamily. And she wants one done for every single property worded her way.
As long as you have it though.
It's
Is there a
an issue with title and the lender because it's the word.
So what's your question?
What do you do? Like,
I brought in Mike on a phone call to help.
like even the
Honestly,
lender
yeah.
had to push it back. We had to extend our closings until January because of the fact that the lender is having issues the way it's worded.
So there's 2 things you have to know about. The first thing is, number one, what is the number one thing you need to do when something like that happens? It ain't talk to me. It's talk to Joseph A. Scott, because when a court case occurs, who's the man that's going to be standing in front of the judge? I'm not. I'm going to be sitting drinking a pina colada, right? So that's the first thing, and you're already doing that. So I know you're engaging. And the second thing would be this. Understand when NAR made this settlement, they put specific requirements in place for a BBRA. You see, LVR, whenever they put together a contract, one, they're paying attorneys to review these things and make sure that it protects the members that are using these forms. So we already have attorney review on these things and ready to go that fits what NAR is saying we need. Now, if a client, especially a client with legal background, says that doesn't protect me, that's a completely separate conversation that's well above my pay grade to have. I don't have a law degree, but I'm using this form because what it does do is it makes sure I'm fitting the NAR's requirements. I'm disclosing upfront what I'm going to be servicing, the length of time, and what is my compensation. That's the most important things that we need to be disclosing so that we don't go rehashing this lawsuit all over again. If a client's having issues about protection and other items and a lender or title is disagreeing with the use of that form being sufficient to whatever is the need there, those are different conversations that a broker needs to get involved with. However, the most important thing with that BBRA was that we were disclosing our compensation up front, and the fact that that was a compensation the buyer is responsible for. If a buyer has an issue with that, they need to get retrained on what a real estate transaction is all about now. Because a buyer was never and is never off the hook from the compensation. What was always happening was when I was working with a buyer, what should have been, and this is the issue, I can go into it 30 minutes. Yeah, I better stop. There's a whole soapbox we could have gone, and we have a few minutes. Let me share this with you guys, okay? Here is the issue that happened that a buyer needs to understand, because a buyer, they're misunderstanding the situation if they feel like they're not protected right now. If I was working with Chris to buy a house, okay, and I had house A available for sale and house B available for sale, and Chris said, hey, listen, I like house A more than I like house B, right? And we go and look at the houses. Now, for me as a real estate agent, house A has the same offer, has the same asking price as house B. They're both asking for, what's an asking price? $450? Yeah. Let's go with $450. Okay. Now, house A, Chris wants to go with, is offering a 2.5 apples compensation to me. Okay. House B is offering 2 apples to me. So I go under contract, and now I'm entitled to a compensation of 2.5 apples of $450,000. We fall out. I, at that point, assigned a value to my service. What's the value of my service? 2.5 apples of $450,000. So then Chris, after fallout, goes to house B. We negotiate and we get under contract. And they're offering 2 apples. And I don't have any conversation with Chris. What is the value of my service? Should be 2.5 apples. Most agents, what did they do? They collected whatever they got without any additional conversation. And so what happened was you didn't put a rate on the services you were charging. So a seller was just subject to whatever amount that they were paying without understanding what they were paying for in a level of service. Okay? So what needs to happen is a buyer needs to understand you're hiring that service at a rate. And if your buyer's agent is good enough, they're negotiating for that rate to be offset through a seller paying for that. And that's what's happening right now is your investor doesn't see it the right way. They're seeing it the way that we as a real estate profession first train buyers how to see how we get paid. Right? So this is why, coming back to, I asked the question really early on, how many of you are having buyer consultations with 100% of your buyers? Some of you didn't raise your hand. You have to be, just for that conversation alone right now. A buyer needs to understand that when they sign a BBRA, first off, they have to do that to go look at a home. Otherwise, you're putting yourself ass's grass mode right now. But second to that, what they're signing is an obligation to paying you something. And if they go under contract and that rate is not offset, that cost could be put on them if you choose not to drop your rate.
Go ahead.
Well, that's a good mood. You're not to apologize for it.
So this morning, she put offers in. But before she signed the offer, she said, I want you to call that listing agent and find out exactly what that commission is.
You're not allowed
I'm like,
to
I
do that.
can't.
Well, okay. So here's what you guys have to understand, okay? There's two layers. So hold on a second. There's two layers to this. And I'm going to answer that question first, but I pause really quickly. Nate, what you're going to ask, is that in line with what we're talking about right now, or is there something else?
No, I just had a comment on the lawsuit stuff, but it's all good, man. Don't worry about it.
Okay, hang tight 1 second then. So Luis's question is, this client wants me to call the listing agent and say, okay, like what's the amount that the seller is offering? Based on the letter of the settlement, can I have that conversation with a seller?
Yeah.
Based on the letter of the settlement, you can have conversations around compensation outside of the MLS. Where some of you might be getting confused is where Joseph Scott, representing Keller Williams, stands and what he sees to protect you as an agent. Is there is a major, major risk in you continuing to have that conversation, including off of the MLS. Because now if I am talking with another agent and that agent tells me, yeah, we're paying 2.5 apples, and doing that over and over again, now there's a collusion case that can be happening. And all it takes is an attorney calling that agent and saying, hey, are you guys charging a rate? Yeah, we're offering 2.5 apples. Boom, we now have collusion happening all over again. So that's why we're telling you, as almost like a lender has overlays, we've put an overlay that's telling you don't have conversations about compensation anywhere other than the purchase agreement, because by then we can guarantee that this was a negotiation happening between a buyer and a seller, not between two agents. Right? And I know that we can go into an hour-long conversation about this, but we're not today. Right? Nate, what was the comment you were going to share?
Oh, honestly, I just on the lawsuit, and then I could be wrong on this here though, but I mean, my firm feeling is with the incoming, president, president-elect. I mean, the guy's a real estate guy. I think it's pretty safe to assume that they're probably going to get some downward pressure on this lawsuit, especially from the DOJ, and that's just what I'm hearing coming down the pipeline. But I mean, I'm going to be really curious to see what happens, once he is sworn in, and what happens to this case. It's going to be interesting to watch. So.
Well, we'll see. Right? That's more speculation stuff, which doesn't really serve us today. However, it doesn't hurt to at least have an idea of what could be coming out there. But I'll tell you one thing: when Trump was in president, guess what? One of the suits that we closed back in that one actually happened while Trump was in presidency. So to think that Trump is going to maybe have this thing disappear like a fart in the wind, I don't know if that's a good promise I would make for ourselves right now. Okay? This is much bigger than just the president. The Department of Justice was already getting involved on some things like clear cooperation and our participation policy back in 2020 and 2018, right? So there's some things to look out for. This thing is not done yet, but at least you know how to act today. So you don't need to act like, I don't know, this thing's still up in the air, because it really isn't. There's a settlement that's been approved that's instituted some rules until something else is communicated to you. And we need to retrain our buyers and sellers right now. That's your responsibility, is to retrain the people, okay? In lighter news, the loan limit's increased. So the conforming loan limit on conventional is now 806. What? 8065? 8065. So look at that, huh? We can have a loan of And the FHA is at 524, 225. That gives you a purchase price of, I think, what is it, 570 or something like that? Yeah, like almost $550,000 I can get for an FHA loan. Because that's just the loan limit, right? Then you have your 3.5% down on top of that. So we could buy almost a $550,000 home on FHA. Crazy, huh?
About a $5,000 payment.
You know, Mike, could we just stay positive for a second? Jeez Louise, man. Good Lord. Hey. All right. I have a gift for you guys in the Facebook group for those of you that are with us already. And if you're not, join our company and then you'll get it. Just I already paid for the 2024 profile of home buyers and sellers. This is one of my favorite reports to get from the National Association of Realtors every year because it tells us all of the behaviors about buyers and sellers today. And I actually use that to revise my listing presentation and buyer consultation. If the most important thing to a buyer or a seller is honesty and integrity, don't you think you should talk about your honesty and integrity in your consultations? So knowing what's important to them is actually in here already. It also reaffirms the fact that 90% of buyers and sellers meet with how many agents before they select one? 2. 90% of buyers and sellers meet with 2 agents before they pick one. What's the battle at that point? Be one of the first 2 in front of a client, and you probably got the battle won, right? So you'll get those 2 reports as attachments in. Did you just say I don't know about that?
I love
Oh, you love that. It's like, that's exactly right. Follow up, follow up, follow up. Some of you, when you're talking to people in your pipeline, your database, somebody will tell you like, hey, you know what, Anthony, call me in 3 months. And then what'll Anthony do? Call him in 3 months. And then what happened in 3 months? I bought a house a month ago, man. So sorry. Get to the table. Somebody tells you 6 months, they actually mean 3. They tell you 3 months, they meant a month and a half. What's that? On your presentation. Speaking of presentations, TikTok's about to get banned. Moving on.
They used to have.
Ooh, that was very unpopular for a lot of you. Wow. Yeah. All right. Did you say bring back MySpace?
You weren't even born yet.
Whoa, hey, reeling it in. Okay. First off, hey, let me know if I would be in your MySpace top 8. Second off, let's talk quick 5 agent tips, okay? 5 agent tips. So this will be our wrap up for the day, and I hope you've enjoyed our presentation. Next Thursday at 12:30 is our all partners meeting along with our gift exchange, and then it's the holidays, right? So thanks for coming. 5 tips for you guys. The first one, Nate, how was scripts practice today, sir? Genuinely, how was it? We created a follow-up script, and we gave it to the 5 people that were in there, and they practiced it. How was it, Chris? Okay. And we're doing that now. We're creating scripts and giving it out and saying, here, practice this one. Let's practice together. And we say it out loud. We talk about how to prep to use it and this and that. Just from this meeting alone, some of you might have identified, man, I got to get better at that conversation. I got to get better at that presentation. I got to get better at presenting the BBRA, negotiating this contract. Scripts practice should be a daily habit. If Patrick Mahomes is still practicing how to throw a football and he's winning Super Bowls, why the hell do you think you don't need to practice your listing presentation when you're taking 1 listing a year?
Just glad you didn't say Aaron Rodgers.
Well, because he's already the god of football. So anyways, Aaron Rodgers. Okay? Attend scripts practice. Now, that was not a call out. Listen, if you're not taking listings and buyers, this is the way to do it. It's probably because you might think you're so charismatic, you're so popular, so smart. Yes, you are. But you don't realize that your resting booby face is probably messing it up and you're not getting the feedback, right? Or the way you talk about the contract, you're stuttering over certain things and you need to refine that. You can get better if you come to scripts practice. We do one here at the office for our people. 8:30 every Tuesday and Thursday for 30 minutes. Right? What you should be doing is having scripts practice 5 days a week, but we are putting 2 of them on for you. And we're even giving you 1 thing to not think about because we're giving you the thing to practice for the day. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8:30 to 9, come and join us, attend scripts practice. There's a lot of big things that are going to be happening in the new year. A lot of uncertainty to deal with, right? Don't you want to practice those conversations with us and learn how to pivot instead of you coming to a once a month class? I would. Number 2, design your Q1 marketing, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8:30. Design your Q1 marketing plan, okay? So right now, what you should be doing is thinking, what does January, February, and March's touches need to be, okay? This should be here would be my quick and easy thing if you want to write these down. 2 emails a month. What are your 2 emails going to be in January, February, and March? You don't need to say it. What's your one phone call? What's your one phone call? What's your one giveaway? And what's your one event? So 2 emails, 1 phone call, 1 giveaway, and 1 event in the next 3 months. Don't let the new year start without you having that plan in place, okay? 2 emails a month, so 6, sorry. Did I say 2 emails a month or did I just say 2 emails? 2 emails a month, so 6 emails total, 1 giveaway total, 1 phone call total, and 1 event total, okay? Number 3, create a time block schedule. Who here operates off a time block schedule? You do? Great job. For the rest of you, this is a big part of what's the separation between where you're at today and where you're wanting to be at, is you're not following a time block schedule. So what's likely happening, and some of you, I get this all the time, somebody's going to smirk in the room when I say this. You probably wake up right now and you think to yourself, what am I going to do today? I knew I was going to get one of you, right? If that's what you're doing, you got to get your time block schedule built around a plan. Okay? Yes, Martina.
That person, and this changed my life.
So have a time block schedule. A time block schedule requires a once a week routine. So whether that is on Sundays, pour your Bellini or your mimosa, get your food ready, and then for an hour, do your schedule for the week. And don't just think about the fun stuff to do for the week. Get your business plan out first and start and focus on what you said you were going to do. Because a lot of you don't have a business plan. And so when you do your weekly planning, you think about, ooh, maybe I'm going to try that lead generation strategy this week. And then it goes for 2 weeks, it doesn't work, and then you try a new lead generation strategy. Okay. So that's good. Oh,
Business plan.
well, I don't know who did that, but there you go.
Dale.
Oh, Dale did that?
Yeah. No, I did it. So here's what I did.
That was Dale, but.
Yeah.
Sir, you mentioned Bellini. You mentioned pina colada. What's up with all the fruit drinks?
My name is Dan, and I have a problem. I love whiskey and bamboo. Yeah. No, bamboo. Okay, this is a big one right now. Hear me on this one. Focus on the motivated. So yesterday I did a market update in Pahrump, which, by the way, if you ever go to Artesian Cellars Winery, shout out. They have amazing wines, and their Ascension wine is freaking amazing. Anyways, I had a question. One of the agents in the group was like, hey, what I would like to hear about today is what's going on with those movie studios. Because I was talking to somebody in my pipeline, and they're like, hey, I don't want to do anything until they figure out what's going on with the Warner Bros. And Sony movie studios. What did I say back to that agent? You know what your problem is? It's not that you don't know what to say to somebody when they're wondering about this movie studios. It's that your pipeline doesn't have enough motivated people that you're freaking about as somebody that wants to know about movie studios. You see, if you have 10 other motivated buyers and sellers, are you worried about the one individual who's not moving because of the president election or the movie studio or the whatever else it may be? Go and fill your pipeline with motivated people and focus on them. Okay? And if you're freaking out about the other conversations, that's probably the problem. It's the pipeline. And my last tip for you would be make personal development a priority. This is not a Keller Williams plug. I work at Keller Williams because I believe in the company and how it helps my business, okay? In sales. And so one of the most impactful things that I did, this is actually the reason why I'm in this role today, okay? Because I could peel back and tell you guys a long story, but the quick version is I went to a conference where it was at that time, I think a 3-day conference. And there were agents that were brought there. It was in New Orleans at the time. which by the way, man, that city did not recover from Hurricane Katrina. I was like, wow, walking on the streets and there's sidewalks literally still lifted up. It's crazy over there. But the conference itself, I went there, and for 3 days, they had agents that were selling 500, 1,000, 3,000, 5,000 homes a year. And I got to be in a room with them and 100 other agents, and they opened up the playbook and said, here's how you do open houses. Here's how you take more listings. Here's how you blah, blah, blah. And by the end of it, it was literally like somebody took a hammer to my head and just kept smacking me. I had such a headache because I took in all this information. But it was one of the most impactful conferences because it did teach me one thing, a sleeping bag technique that some of you might have heard about, that changed my life and my career. I'm not going to go into the story because the story about that is not important. What's important is what things like this do for you when you focus on your personal development and invest in yourself. So, here's the cool thing. When I had to go to the conference in February of 2018, I had to pay for the conference, which was $900 at the time. I had to pay for a flight, which round trip I think was $750. I had to pay for a hotel, which was another, I think, $1,200, and then food there. And that, and if you add up all of that, that was probably about another additional, what's that? About $3,000 that I had to spend in all these other things. This conference is in your backyard this coming year. February 17th to the 21st, it's here. You don't have to pay a flight. You don't have to pay a hotel. You can eat your salami in your fridge and just go to the conference and hang out. The conference itself is $1,100. Some of you guys see that as an expense. You need to understand that is an investment that is going to have way more than a 10x return just by getting one deal off of it. And it's not just from the classes that you're going to sit in and getting one tidbit, but it's also as you're walking around and you have a lanyard. Some of you get really flashy and you have like headbands that light up like the stratosphere, and you can wear sweaters, and you had like a jacket that said, get your ass a referral or something, right? And people walk around from different cities and they're like, oh my God, you work in Vegas? Oh, I got a referral for you next week. Can I partner with you next week? And let's rock and roll. Just someone in North Carolina.
Who was it? Somebody got it was like $1 million listing at the first day of the conference.
Okay. And that's a $35,000 commission check potentially. Right.
My first listing, family reunion referral.
So there you go. So I'm not going to sell you guys on having to go to Keller Williams Family Reunion. I'm saying you're about to save $3,000 on this opportunity by it being here this coming year. So you'd be crazy not to go because of the value that it provides. And aside from that, whether you go or not, what else are you doing for personal development? Some of the books I'm digging my nose into right now, I'm going to dig into with our ALC this coming year. Full Fee Agent by Chris Voss. Day Trading Attention by Gary Vaynerchuk. $100 million Offers by Alex Hormozy, right? And we're going to become master marketers with great value propositions as we get into the new year.
One thing also is if you have Spotify, the NREA podcast.
It's really good.
Go back from the beginning, listen to it from the beginning, all 50, some episodes. Incredible.
Yep. So make personal development a very big part of your strategy. Stop thinking just about lead gen and follow up in your database plan. What are you doing to personally develop at least one big thing a month? February could be family reunion. So what's January? Maybe it's a book you're reading. Maybe it's somebody you're going to go to lunch with and learn from, right? And you're going to pay for the lunch because you're going to want to invest and learn. Maybe in March, you're going to do something specific, okay? But I would have at least one thing you're doing per month for personal development. What do you guys think of your market update today? Good stuff. Okay, it's recorded. You'll get your links. You'll get your slides. You'll get all your information in the Facebook group. And if you don't have it, you can email me. If you don't have my email, just come and see me after this and we'll rock and roll. Thank everybody for coming to today. Let's adjourn this baby dog in 3, 2, 1. Have a great day, everybody.